This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Monday, May 16th, 2016, and this is in response to Dr. Paul Krugman's article in the New York Times. It takes a policy, and I will add, to raise our children. Now, politicians love to talk about family values and how much they appreciate family values, and Dr. Krugman aptly points out, if that's the case, then why did we pay such little attention to Dennis Hastert, a long-standing Speaker of the House who pled guilty to child abuse charges, so to speak. But then again, where is our policy in relationship to the youngest and most vulnerable in our society? What about the policies that we have for children that are in place today? What it is that the United States policy shows a total lack of utter indifference to the fact that almost all other countries in the world provide paid family leave when a child is born. And why is it that we can't do that? Our public expenditure for child care is basically at the bottom. So we don't provide for family leave, and we barely provide anything for child care. So both of them are at the stinking bottom, especially in relationship to our European brothers and sisters. And why is it that we pay such little value to that? Now, in the real world, and not in the real world, but what's going on in the U.S. is you have the rich and the affluent who can pay 7 times as much money for child care expenses than what the poor can provide for. And what can we do to help alleviate this incredible burden that we have? Now, this week, Hillary and Bernie both had ambitious, what I would call 12-week plans for paid leave. And Dr. Krugman refers to Hillary's as ambitious and doable, that it will increase the affordability and the quality of child care. It has to do, I want to go into the details, but it has to do with the fact that once expenditures for parents or single mother, etc., reach about 10%, then there would be some subsidies and some tax breaks in it. And because child care itself can cost up to 1/3 of a person's salary. And I can remember in my specific instance where after 2 children that the amount of the cost of daycare, would be about the equivalent of 1/3 of the salary, 1/3 of the combined salary. And in essence, if one was making 40%, one was making 60%, then it'd be extremely difficult. I mean, one salary was basically just going into paying for all of the daycare that was required. And of course, then you had to add in additional time away from the home, additional car expenses, additional insurance expense, additional clothes for being in the workforce. Very, very hard decisions as to whether or not 2 parents should be working or one should actually stay home. So I know about how difficult this can be. What we have right now is the United States is paying only approximately 0.4% of GDP in terms of child care, whereas France, who we love to belittle all the time, is paying about 1.2% of GDP on child care. So with a very small amount of an increase, we can go a long way, even though we have a tremendously long way to go to help that. Now, if it seems as if the United States policy is that we don't really give a shit about the fact that our children right now are the ones who are going to be employed and to be taxpayers in the future. They will be in the workforce. And so it is very important that we help them get the kind of education, get the kind of help for the parents so that they can be productive. Now, what we're going to hear from our friends on the other side, our Republican friends, who will talk about the evils of big government. They will talk about choice. They will talk about what are those alternative schools where you get vouchers, the voucher systems for other schools. They will talk all about that. They will talk about free markets. but how much, our children don't necessarily have a choice when they're bored as to what type of parent and what type of economic situation they're going to be raised in. And we need to do more than what we're currently doing. And of course, this is about policy. This is about why we have elections. This is about what we can look forward to in the future to help make the United States, help move our country forward, which is what we need to do. That's why we have elections. That's why we need to talk about what we can do, how we can do it, how it would be put in place, how much it would affect us, what the benefit would be. Instead of what we get is one of our candidates where the news cycle was surrounding his having an imaginary friend back in the early 90s. And of course, the news cycle is today still in reference to his treatment of women, which is despicable in a lot of ways. At the same time, why are we paying so much attention to the personality of our candidates and not about the policy? One policy difference that can make, with a very small expenditure, that can make a huge difference in children's lives today is looking at the policies that Bernie has put out, that Hillary has put out, and look at them and what has the candidate on the other side put out. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Talking in generalities. Now, this is an area where you can be very, very specific, but we haven't heard anything on the other side. This is why we have elections, and this is why we need to pay close attention to what their policies are. So we have, with Hillary and Bernie, doable, ambitious policies that we need to look at seriously that would greatly benefit the youngest in our society.